Today's presentation focuses in on meeting the weather forecast requirements for predicted 12 and 24-hour rainfall as stated in Senate Bill 1 requirements. This new process that people need to go through in thinking about fertilizer and manure applications was laid out in legislation here in Ohio that becomes effective as of July 3rd, 2015. The graphic that you have in front of you here, highlighted in yellow, are the counties that do need to meet the criteria that we're talking about here with Senate Bill 1. Basically, there is a rainfall criteria that needs to be met when we talk about both manure and fertilizer applications in these named watersheds. So we want to take a good close look moving forward in relationship to what kind of precipitation is in the forecast as we make and plan fertilizer applications. Specifically, we're talking about two different products. First highlighted here is the fertilizer application restrictions. And once again, you can see that we talk about ground conditions of frozen, snow covered, or saturation. But then we also, in item 3, talk about the local weather forecast and what conditions are going to exist after we make that fertilizer application. For our fertilizer, where we have greater than a 50% chance of precipitation exceeding 1 inch in a 12-hour period, then we need to delay fertilizer application. There are a couple of exemptions if we're applying that fertilizer injected into the ground, or if we're incorporating within 24 hours of application to the surface, or where we apply onto a growing crop. For manure applications, we have some similar criteria that we need to consider. The snow covered frozen soil situation, as well as where the top 2 inches of soil are saturated, are the same for both manure and fertilizer. What changes a little bit is where we talk about the local weather forecast. Here the criteria for manure is where we have a 50% chance of precipitation exceeding 1/2 of an inch in a 24-hour period. The reason for the change as far as the rainfall amount is related to a lot of our manures being a liquid manure, and in a lot of cases kind of standard application is going to be something around 1/2 an inch of water with the manure application, and then thus another 1/2 an inch of rainfall really almost totals up to that 1 inch criteria, similar to what we're using in the fertilizer application criteria. We do have same manure injection into the ground, incorporation within 24 hours of surface application, applied onto a growing crop, or if in the event of an emergency, there are some other criteria there. With some smaller operations, we know that they don't have the capacity for storage at this point, and thus there is a 1 or 2 year exemption that can be applied for, and you'll want to work with your soil and water conservation district in relationship to what that criteria is and how to attain that. There should be a note here for permitted facilities, and CLMs are certified livestock managers here in the state of Ohio, where we have those permitted facilities, which do have a different restriction in relationship to soil type and what can be applied. We want to and need to continue to follow those more restrictive criteria in the permits. This does not supersede that. So let's talk a little bit about, in the next few slides here, what tools we can use as far as meeting this weather forecast requirement. It is one thing that we will want to make a printed copy of and include in our records, so that we, if ever questioned, can present the materials that we did go ahead and look up that forecast and did follow the best management practice here. So how do we do that? Currently, our best tool is the weather.gov website. This is the actual landing page. If you use that address that you see up above, basically it gives you some forecast information, kind of some radar maps up front. The box that we really want to pay close attention to is in the upper left hand corner, where you can actually enter a zip code of a city that's close to the location where you're looking at making your fertilizer applications. Then you can document what's going on from a forecast standpoint in that zip code area. When you enter that zip code and hit go, you'll end up on a page that looks like this. You'll see some current conditions. Then you'll also, as you move down, see that there is a location description. Gives you information that you confirm that you do have the right forecast, and then you'll want to actually scroll down the page for the piece that we're really looking for, and that at the bottom of that really the detailed forecast area, kind of below the radar and satellite images, is a hourly weather graphic. When we do click on that box, it takes us to another page, and this third page is actually the page that we wanted to get get the information that we need for this particular understanding of what the weather forecast is moving forward. You can see some different check boxes up above, and you can check on and off the information that you do want to have here on the page. At minimum, you want to have the precipitation potential and the rainfall, but there's some other things that you might like to keep. Here we have temperature, then we have the wind speed and direction information in the forecast. We also have the percent potential precipitation, and that's what we'll use to determine when we hit that 50% rainfall period. And then down below we actually have a forecast by period of actual rainfall. We'll take a little closer look at that, and here is that bottom piece of the graphic for Wauseon on 4/2 of 2015, and this is the 10 a.m. forecast that we're looking at here. You can see that we have some rainfall predicted, and actually that 12 p.m. was when we hit that 50% rainfall piece. So we start there and add the numbers together for that 12-hour period. You can see here that we total up to 0.42 inches is the 12-hour forecast that we have currently for that particular day. We can look down at that a little closer with a 24-hour forecast. If we're looking at manure application, we extend that out just a little bit further, and actually the rainfall doesn't increase a whole lot with that. Here we end up with 0.46 inches as the 24-hour rainfall forecast. So those adding up of the predicted rainfall there is the way that we can come up with that total amount for the period. Then we just need to decide, are we in a 12-hour forecast or 24-hour forecast, depending on whether we're applying fertilizer or manure. The question often comes in the discussion, well, our weather forecasts aren't always accurate. We sometimes will end up with a much heavier rainfall event than what was originally forecast. And in that case, we have actually, if we go and look at the forecast page as we just did here, document what's going on, and then we end up with a higher rainfall event, we've actually done what we needed to do. The thing that you'll want to make sure you do is print off that forecast page. It's often hard to recover that later on, so do make a printed record of that on the day that you're making the application and look up the forecast. Once again, the law is written based on what is the forecasted rainfall precipitation information. It's not what actually happens. So if we end up with that 2-inch rainfall when the forecast only said 3/10 of an inch, then we're still within the law and have followed that regulation. Hope that's helpful. We'll look at providing some more information and maybe some new tools here in the future, but as of today, this is our best way to go about making that rainfall prediction documentation to adhere to Senate Bill 1 regulations that came into effect on July 3rd of 2015.